Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Savell with Weathermatic. I'm here to present the third part in our Increased Exhibitor Success Series, post-show follow-up. And my goal here is really to help identify some key customer relationship management initiatives within your follow-up process. Now, you may decide to buy some CRM software or use Microsoft Outlook or other programs that are out there that will help you do this follow-up. My goal here is to really help identify some of the steps that are required and also help maybe create a catalyst or a thought process for how you optimize the show. At the IA, we really want to make sure you guys get the most value out of the show, and it's important to the IA and our members to make sure that when you come to the show that you leave with real business. And so let's go through the agenda and let's talk about what the steps are in the CRM process. You want to gather your leads. So at the show, you're going to have a way to gather your leads, and we can talk in detail about that in a moment. Maybe you rent a scanner or you have somebody designated to collect business cards. You want to set appointments. You want to turn those appointments into live and real opportunities, and then you want to work those opportunities until you win or lose the job, okay? So let's go through identifying some of the processes. So to really execute on a CRM process, a customer relationship management process, you're going to need your people. That means I've got to have great outside people that are at the show gathering the information and getting detailed information about the requirements for the follow-up. And then I've got to have a process. So who do they hand it off to make sure it happens? You know, I've never met a sales guy in my career that doesn't have a great first meeting. It's a second, third, and fourth meeting that actually generate the sale, and those are the meetings that are hardest to complete. So you got to have a great process. So who's going to own the lead? And then you've got to apply technology. That means today we get to use computers and smartphones where once the initial lead is contacted and an appointment set, that we're setting the next follow-up call and appointment. And there's some automated process where we're applying technology to make sure that we complete those tasks. So very, very important to have the people designated, the process defined before you get to the show, and then make sure you're using appropriate technology at the show. So I really like to define the sales process down into 4 or 5 action items. So first, the lead. We need to gather at the IA show and identify the customer type. You know, what bucket does he fit in? Is he a public agency bucket, or is he a contractor, or maybe you know, he's a corporate facility management company. Determine who's going to call to get that appointment after the show. Is that an inside sales call down, or is that an outside salesperson that does both, inside sale call downs and get his appointment, and then goes physically, does a face-to-face. Once in the appointment, we've got to convert it to an opportunity. So identify if our product fits, and then you know, identify the right product, and then hopefully get an opportunity to give a price and convert it into a quote, and then that quote becomes a PO and a job. And then once the job is won, identify additional opportunities. So we're going to break each one of these down in a little bit more detail as we go forward. So the lead, we want to identify the customer types and the solution required. Does he fit part of our product offering or just a portion of our product offering? Align the solution. We may not know that at the IA show because we just don't get enough time, but we want to keep asking those probing questions. So when we talk about people and having a plan, you know, make sure you have a list of probing questions for each one of your product types and or your customer types, and make sure everybody has scripted that and practiced that. So many times I go to an IA show or any show, and the salesperson, you know, obviously we have a lot of great people and a lot of great salespeople, but they really don't know the right questions to ask, and it may be those 1 or 2 questions, you know, that ultimately makes the difference. Research the customer. Look up on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever kind of like a Google, you know, that are out there. Understand the market segment they fit in. Maybe it's sports fields, maybe it's you know, again, public agencies, whatever the case might be. And once you understand the geographical region, the customer type, you may have had past jobs that are in the area that you can use as references or testimonials. So, oh yeah, we did a school district right down the street from you, or you know, we did whatever the case might be. There could be another job that relates directly to an area or somebody they might know. So at that time, you know, when you're having those discussions with the leads, you know, it's good to do some name dropping. Then we have to get an appointment. So we get the leads gathered, they're organized, and we get back from the show. We want to load them in our system. So they either need to go in our contact file with appropriate tasks scheduled, or, you know, whatever other type of customer relation management program we might be using. We need to decide who owns the lead, whether that be an outside sales guy does his own call downs, or we have an inside sales group that actually does that. So we need to set an appointment and convert that prospect into a clean opportunity. After we've done that, we want to make sure when we schedule the appointment that we schedule enough time to explain the product properly and ask those probing questions to make sure we have the right solution for the customer, or even if he might need some additional products that weren't originally discussed, that he may or may not know that we even produce. We need to use closing statements. We need to ask pointing questions. When do you think you might budget for the project? Do you want to buy the project incrementally, or buy the whole project at one time? What is your budget cycle? We need to understand when projects get funded and when they don't. Can you get started with a pilot today? Use closing statements to ask very, very pointed questions. After you have that first appointment and you're physically there with that appointment, you know, ask when you can have a second meeting. Don't get stuck in a moment where you leave the appointment and you don't know if you're going to have a second meeting. Because if the customer's interested and he said yes, hey, I might want to do something here, then that's an opportunity to go ahead and use a closing statement and ask that pointed question, when can I have a second meeting? So those are all good things to do at the appointment to make sure you're continuing to the next step in the sales process. So let's say in this situation, the customer says yes and gives you a second meeting. So now that appointment turns into an active opportunity. So now once it becomes an active opportunity, that means the product fits his or her needs, and we need to do further research. We may need to, you know, count how many they need of whatever kind of widgets we might be selling. We may need to know, is it an indoor product or is it an outdoor product? Let's say it was landscape lighting. You know, is it something that the wiring exists, or they're going to have a secondary contractor come in and do some work? Understand that the price and the size of the project fits their current budget, or see if they need to get future funding. The sooner we can help them understand what the price and the project cost is. Determine the time frame of the project. This is something they want to do in the next 3 months, the next 12 months, or the next 10 years. That'll help you understand how to prioritize your opportunities. You know, I like to prioritize my opportunities based on things that will close sooner versus the things that will take longer to close. So those are sales cycles which should be identified in your opportunity process. No reason to prioritize till we understand how long it may be before somebody actually moves forward. And ultimately what that means is, when can we see a PO? Because till we get a purchase order, it's not a sale, and we can't move forward. So I want to be working on projects that are closer in the opportunity bucket or opportunity phase of our sales process versus projects that are further out. Once I get projects that are further out identified, then I can start to think about moving on to those projects after I've closed those projects that are closer in. So when can I expect to see a PO? Then we have an active opportunity. That means we know we're going to do some work. They've said we are the perfect choice. And so we write a proposal that hopefully fits their current budget requirements. We have a time of project release. we start to make sure that we have consistent follow-up throughout the process. We're calling weekly, daily, monthly, whatever is appropriate. We ask if we can go ahead and start training. So you start to entrench the customer in your product before you even get the sale. So they're comfortable with how to use it. They're comfortable with how to navigate your customer service and support mechanisms within your company. But that when the project's an active opportunity, that means we're moving forward and the customer really needs to get a higher level of integration into your company. Get to know the customer. Understand if there's more business in other areas that he may work on or her. Get to know the customer if there's other people or associates within her market segment that they know that they might use the recommendation. People like to tell people once they've made a purchase, they talk about it a lot for the first 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and during that time is our best opportunity to get a testimonial lead and maybe move on and get more business from that customer. You know, referrals and word of mouth is always the best business to get, and the current business you're doing is the best place to get new leads. So during the active opportunity, a lot can go on there, really tighten the relationship with that customer, and use that time to make sure, again, that customer understands how to navigate the other people in your company and make those introductions at that time. Then we move on to the next phase, which is won or lost. So winning a project can be in multiple phases. I could win a project and I'm only doing 25% of the total project. So just because we win a project doesn't mean that things stop. You know, can I give you another proposal, another lead? Is there another phase of the project that you don't manage? So winning a project, again, is a great opportunity to get more leads, and don't think of the project as over. A customer is a customer for life. The guy you're doing business with, even after the sale, could leave that job and go on to the next job. So he's going to want to buy your product again if he's had great success. And I've had customers move to 4 or 5 different projects over time and continually buy from me every single job that they've had throughout their career. Now, losing a project may mean that it's just not right now. I don't have the budget, but in the future. I've had customers, I made a presentation and they didn't buy for 5 years. So I don't always want to identify, you know, people like a finite decision, and I hear this a lot of win and loss, so I'll mark them off my list. If I've had a great relationship and the customer likes my product, but he just can't buy it right now, sometime in the future he may buy it, so I want to make sure I keep that relationship. Let's say they've chosen another product. That's fine too. Glad you made a better choice. Maybe that product fits your application better, but make no mistake, always check back with the customer and say, how's it going? I've had projects that they've actually installed somebody's product, and then later on, 6, 8 months, 12 months down the road, you know, that customer, that vendor got kicked off the job for some reason, and I got a second chance. So second chances are always there, even when you think you may have lost the job. And sometimes one size doesn't fit all. I've had a job where they use someone else's product on part of the job and use my product on the other part of the job. Again, this may be a source of another lead. Quite often when customers have to tell you no, people don't like to tell people no. They'll give you a lead of somebody else that they know that might fit your product better, okay? And I always ask those customers, hey, I appreciate the opportunity. I really, I'm sorry that we weren't a good fit, but do you have anybody else that you know of that we might be a good fit for? And you'd be surprised how many times those customers will give you leads, and they'll even work to give you leads because they had to tell you no. So use a loss as a win is what I'm trying to say, and it absolutely is an opportunity to win. So take that time to convert that customer and make him a customer for life. So those are the quick steps and the quick slides. Hopefully I didn't go too fast, but what you want to think about is have a plan before you get to the show. Make sure you have a plan that is comprehensive. And what I mean is a starting, a middle, and a finish. That's why we did a three-part series for the IA. And what I'm really trying to accomplish here is I'm trying to make sure that I outline a good, clean process, and then you guys practice the process before you get there. I know we at Weathermatic have been a member of the IA since the beginning, and we've been at every single IA show, so we absolutely see value in the IA. And we work hard to turn our leads at the Irrigation Association into real business. And I'll say without a doubt that I've been at Weathermatic for 15 years now, and I will say without a doubt that we spend a lot of money going to the IA show, but without a doubt, we've always paid for the IA show with leads and business that we've gotten there. And it's really all about planning and defining the CRM process. Take a minute, use my slides, write the information down, and I'm available for questions. We want to support the IA, and again, the IA wants to support you guys in making sure your show's a success. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.